Hello guys, and welcome to Daddy Share Space. So today I have an assortment of my 18 volt power tools by Festool, and just kind of giving a quick rundown. Right here I have the Victoro. It is a multi-tool. I have the Festool Impact. I have the Festool C18. I have the Festool Barrel Grip Jigsaw, the Festool Rotary Hammer, and then over here I have the Festool TID, the Festool KEB Track Saw. And then right over here to my left, I have the Festool Table Saw. And back over here on my right, I have the Festool KS60 Miter Saw. So Festool has been expanding their battery powered line. All of the tools that I had here on the table run on this battery. This is the Festool 18 volt battery. It has Bluetooth built in so that it's able to activate dust extraction whenever you activate the tool, which is a very nice and convenient feature. Now, my question is, do you guys think that it would be a good idea for Festool to bring to market the Festool Domino in a battery powered version? So right here, I have the Lamello Zeta P2. It is another unique joining device made by Lamello, and they actually have a battery powered version of this particular tool. Focusing back here on the Domino. Now, if they were to add battery power to the Domino, what would that look like? For one thing, you have to realize that the Domino has to have extraction, or else you will have premature wear on the bits on the device. For a cordless job site, you would be looking at needing a cordless vacuum, which Festool does offer two versions. They have the small sustainer vacuum, and then they also have the, I believe it's the CT MIDI 18 volt. So you could use those with a battery powered Domino, which would basically could move your setup to a primarily battery powered operation. Festool is known for its mobility. So you've got a battery powered table saw here. You've got the MFT table, which I have sitting on a bench here that can basically fold up and go to your job site. You've got your battery powered track saw. I've already mentioned the battery powered dust extractor, which I don't have here in my shop, but I do have the Capex 60, which is a battery powered tool as well. So you've got your wide cross cuts here. You've got your narrow cuts with your Capex. Obviously you can get the UG stand and make this a whole mobile operation. That combined with the UG stand for the actual table saw, if you're a person that actually had to go somewhere to work, or even in your own home. Let's say you're working in a particular room and you wanted to do some kind of type of work in that room. Maybe you wanted to build a built-in in that room, and you didn't want to build it in your shop and take it up to that room. Maybe you had enough space to actually construct whatever you wanted to construct right there in that space. Well then, if you had a collection of battery powered tools, you wouldn't need a lot of power, because you're just going to be basically charging batteries, and you can take everything to whatever site or location and do your whole job with the tools that are available here. So when I was actually thinking about the idea of there being a battery powered Domino, I actually took a few notes, just brain dumping on the topic. So more than likely the cordless Domino would be a little bit more pricey than the corded Domino. For those that actually have a Domino and decide that that level of flexibility is important to them, then they could actually proceed and upgrade their Domino, so they could either sell their old Domino if they wanted to, or they could have a Domino for home at the shop and another Domino to go on the road in an environment where maybe they didn't have power. Or if you have a shop where you have limited power or outlets in your shop, then you could actually utilize a battery powered Domino to do your joinery. Many people that, not all, but there are a lot of people that like tools, myself being one of them, and sometimes we may like to have the newer thing. So the Domino in its original configuration has been around for a long time, and so basically if they did add, even if they kept the same performance, the same capabilities but just added a battery option to the tool, that could possibly spark a few sales just by itself. A battery powered domino would definitely be a handy addition and selling point for the overall 18 volt platform that Festool is trying to build out. Many tool brands, Milwaukee being one of them, want to have a fully battery powered site. Now, there's obviously benefits to that in the sense for the company, because you got to keep buying those batteries. As I mentioned before, Lamello has a Zeta P2. It comes in two different versions, one of them being the corded version and the other one being battery powered. Now, just being a natural competitor to that company. So right now, if a person wanted a high-end joinery device that was battery powered, the only option they would have would be to go with the Lamello. If Festool was to go and upgrade their domino, then they would actually be competing in that same market for, a similar type of customer. Now, I know that the Zeta P2 and the domino are not a one-to-one comparable tool. However, the convenience that Lamello has decided to add into their tool, I think that would be something worth considering for Festool to add into their domino. Now, some cons regarding a battery-powered domino would be the domino requires extraction. So just as you can do it, it could be cumbersome. Now, in my mind, what I'm thinking is, there are Milwaukee and Makita both make backpack vacuums. And if you were actually, say, working in an environment where you did have a tool such as the domino that would require you to have dust extraction, I think that would be the most comfortable and convenient way of doing it. I mean, theoretically, if you had a backpack vacuum that you can plug in to your track saw or to your domino, that would be useful. However, the alternative that they already have in place is to use the SysVac, the actual sustainer size vacuum, and it actually has a strap, so you can have that strap on and say you were going throughout your working environment or going from one place to another to join boards maybe on the other side of your shop, whatever, or if you're doing a job outside, then you could just take your domino, your battery powered domino, your SysVac, and actually plug it in, and you would be good to go regarding any kind of mortising with this particular type of device, battery powered. Usually when you're using the domino, you're going to be doing a glue up, so that may not be super ideal. However, you do have the domino connectors, which are basically mechanical fasteners and connectors that you can use that you don't need glue. So that would all kind of tie in together. Just say you were going to build a bunk bed that was actually or a bed that was actually going to be disassembled and assembled, then you could actually use a joinery tool like the domino in that instance and actually have a dust-free environment using a battery-powered dust extractor, but then also using a battery-powered domino, because when you run around, I mean, there's no sense in actually having a battery-powered dust extractor if you're walking around with corded tools. They don't really kind of co-mingle. They don't mingle very well together because you're still looking for an outlet. So you might as well have a corded dust extractor as well. So in a way, I guess this goes back on the pros side. If Festool did make a battery powered domino, it would just kind of be a nice little boost for their battery powered platform. Back to a con, cost. All right. Number one, battery powered devices typically are more of a premium and cost more than a corded device on average. And then also you have to consider the fact that you're going to be buying batteries ongoing. The other thing is, like, if we look at the Festool table saw, it has a lot of electronics in it, which means that there are a lot more things that could actually go wrong with the tool. Now, let's talk about customer benefits. So the number one that I have down here is it's a mobile alternative to the domino, right? So flexibility, there's something to it. And even though it may not be a tool that you need that kind of flexibility, it's kind of like, if you think many years ago when all drills and jigsaws were corded, when battery powered equipment came out, it was like, why do I need that? I have an outlet right there. I'll just plug in, I'll just utilize that. Well, over time, Now I'm seeing 99% of people using cordless equipment. So as the technology has improved and you're getting longer run times and, you know, good enough to equivalent power, there's a great deal of convenience of not having to have an outlet totally, you know, bogged down with a bunch of tools, and, you know, just having that flexibility of being able to utilize a battery powered tool. The other thing, and this is kind of like, it just depends on the person. If you're a person that wants to stick with one platform, right, then that means that if you are a Festool person and you decide, I want to buy Festool tools, as they expand their line, obviously this is not specific to this Domino tool, but as they expand their line, that means that if you wanted to, you can move into that system, you can stay in that system, and you don't have to be worried about, you know, peeking over the fence looking at other brands, because everything that you need to do has been incorporated into that one solution or that one system. And I'm not a contractor, I'm not professional, but, you know, I hear oftentimes people having to go work on sites where there's no power. And I myself, over this past summer, would go out in the backyard because I wanted to do projects outside, maybe because the garage was congested, or maybe I was working on a car in the garage, and it's just convenient to just be able to go outside and knock out a project if you need to. And it's, you know, sure, you could run an extension cord, but it's so much more convenient to have battery powered tools because you just have so much more flexibility. Now, this is kind of like a down the line type of benefit that I see that can come to consumers as a whole. This is not specifically for a Domino, but in general, as we see on all kinds of platforms, the battery power is going up, right? And when you talk about the capacity of the batteries, and then when you also talk about the power delivered by the batteries, I'll use an example from Milwaukee. They've now introduced a new battery called the Forge battery, and their 6.0 Forge battery is supposed to be equivalent to a 12.0 high output battery. So you can see that as we adopt more battery technology, then basically there's a push to actually increase what we get out of it. Because these companies are competing, you know, one company's looking over at the other, and if one company has a drastically greater battery platform or you know, performance, then people will want to go with that particular company in most cases. So as Festool starts to invest in battery powered tools, then it basically can, for those that have purchased Festool battery powered tools, it can be encouraging, because it's like, okay, we should see a greater variety of battery powered tools. We should see, we should expect a higher standard and just overall better battery performance in the long run, because there's actually money going into that, that part of the business. So finally, I kind of want to tie this up with what would a Festool Domino battery powered, what would it need to actually make it? And what I came up with 3 points. There are many, but these are just 3 that I decided to, that popped into my head. One of them would be the minimum amount of mortises that could actually be created on a single charge. That would be a major selling point. You know, it's kind of like when you use a miter saw or something like that, they say something like 450 or 650 cuts per charge. You would need to know what the minimum number of mortises would be acceptable to the consumer. And that's a question, if you happen to watch this video and get this far into it, I'd be interested to hear what your number would be. Would it be 150 mortises? Would it have to be something like 300 mortises? How many mortises would a battery powered Domino have to, how many would it have to create for you to say it's worth buying a battery powered version of this tool, right? Because obviously it's not going to be comparable to a corded version, which can go all day long, but when people do shop builds and they use a domino, that's not the only tool they use, and they don't use it typically all day long. So if you're doing a project and you only need, let's say 100, or maybe 100 or so mortises, and the domino battery power can do 150 on a single charge, well then that means that if you have 2 batteries cycling out, that you can get through a lot of jobs, if depending upon the mortises. So that's just another tool that you don't have to find an outlet for. You can just grab a battery, pop it on, or say you cut something with your track saw, and then you can take the battery right off the track saw right there and pop it onto your actual domino, and keep working, and then pop it off the domino and pop it onto your jigsaw, and keep going. So that's one of the things that I feel like we would have to know as a consumer. How many mortises per charge? How much is it going to weigh? It's definitely going to be heavier than the original domino, and the original domino is not super light. So I guess this would be 2 things: weight and ergonomics. How would they design it in a fashion to where it would be still easy and comfortable to use, but also not be unwieldy to where you wouldn't want to use it? Because I mean, if it's, I don't know if it would be acceptable for it to weigh as much as this domino just to be battery powered. I'm not sure if that would be acceptable, to a consumer, whether it be worth it, because even if you have the shoulder strap sustainer vacuum, and you've got that over your shoulder, you don't want to be walking around with this doing manual mortises around the place. So that's, kind of a case against the actual product. But, there's a market for everything and for everybody. And then the last thing that I think that would have to be displayed is the best use case. What would be the ideal situation where a cordless domino would be superior to a corded domino? That may be a hard case to prove. That may be something that can't be proved. That may be a very unique use case that is, basically only for 0.5% or something like that. In that case, then obviously we know that if Festool should make a cordless domino, that would be a no. Anyways, guys, it's a ramble. What do you think? Do you think that Festool should consider a battery powered domino, or do you think that they should just hold pat with the domino as it is? I think it's a really cool tool. It's expensive, but I think it's, in my opinion, if you can afford it, it's worth buying just for the convenience. However, I would say this, and this is something that I did not know: unless you're going to go exclusively with the domino connectors, you need clamps. You need to have clamps, and you should probably buy clamps before you buy a domino. That's something that I didn't do, but now I know. All right, guys, I'll see you in my next video. Take care.